Hey there! Welcome back to the Noctis on YouTube. Did you know accidents can occur to anyone, anytime, anywhere, be it on land, in the air, or at sea? Today we're going to explore some of the most devastating ship accidents that have gone down in history as the worst of their kind. Stick with us to learn more in this episode. Let's get started. A century after the Titanic hit an iceberg in the Atlantic Ocean and eventually sank, a similar tragedy happened again. After leaving the port of Civitavecchia on January 13, 2012, at 1918 to travel to Savona, Costa Concordia hit rocks and capsized. The cruise ship, owned by Carnival Corporation and carrying 3,229 passengers and 1,023 crew members, sank 70 meters deep near Giglio Island, Italy, at exactly 20:45. The ship, which cost $570 million to build, was the site of an accident in which 32 people died, leaving investigators wondering why the luxury cruise ship was sailing so close to the coast. During the trial, the prosecution came up with an explanation. The ship's captain had sailed so close to the island to impress a Moldovan dancer. Whether Captain Francesco Schettino was trying to impress her is still debated. Schettino insisted that the ship sailed close to the coast to salute other sailors and give passengers a good view. But whatever the reason, an Italian court found the captain, 4 crew members, and 1 company official guilty of causing the disaster and preventing a safe evacuation. The shipwreck was not due to unpredictable weather or ship damage. It was a disaster caused by a series of human errors. Concordia was supposed to take passengers on a 7-day voyage from Civitavecchia to Savona. But when it deviated from the planned route to Giglio Island, it hit a reef known as Skull Rocks, which damaged the ship, allowing water to seep in, endangering 4,229 people on board. During his trial, Captain Schettino blamed the ship's helmsman, Jacob Rusli-Bin, claiming he reacted incorrectly to his orders, arguing that if the helmsman had responded correctly and quickly, the ship would not have capsized. However, an Italian Navy admiral testified in court that even if the helmsman had been late in executing the captain's orders, the accident would still have occurred. A trial report noted that several passengers testified they didn't hear the alarm to get on the lifeboats. The evacuation was more chaotic with the ship leaning to the right, making the pathway somewhat difficult and lowering the lifeboats on one side nearly impossible. Worse, the crew improperly dropped the anchor, causing the ship to fall more dramatically. Somehow, the captain got into a lifeboat before everyone managed to escape. A Coast Guard member angrily told him on the phone, "Get back on the ship, damn it!" A soundbite that became a slogan on t-shirts in Italy at that time. Schettino argued that he went to the lifeboat because the ship was leaning to one side, but this argument was not convincing. In 2015, the court found Schettino guilty of manslaughter, causing the ship to capsize, abandoning the ship before passengers and crew were evacuated, and lying to authorities. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison. The cruise ship MV Wilhelm Gustloff was a German passenger ship built in 1938 by the Blohm and Voss Company at a cost of 25 million Reichsmark. It was named after Wilhelm Gustloff, a Swiss Nazi party leader who was killed by a Jewish medical student in 1936. Initially, it served as a cruise ship for workers and Nazi party members, but was later converted to a hospital ship, barracks ship, and military transport ship during World War II. On January 30th, 1945, the ship left the port of Gotenhafen, now Gdynia, Poland, for Kiel, Germany, as part of Operation Hannibal, the massive evacuation of German forces and civilians from East Prussia threatened by the Soviet Red Army's attack. The ship carried about 10,582 people. including 8,956 civilians, mostly women and children, 1,626 military personnel, and 417 crew members. The original capacity was around 2,000 people, making the conditions on the ship very crowded and uncomfortable. At around 9 p.m. local time, while off the coast of Poland, it was spotted and attacked by the Soviet submarine S-13, commanded by Alexander Marinesko. The submarine fired 4 torpedoes at the German cruise ship. 3 torpedoes hit their target, striking the front right, middle right, and rear right of the ship. The torpedo explosions caused severe damage to the ship's hull and ignited fires in several places. Seawater began flooding the engine room and passenger cabins. The electricity went out and the communication system was cut off. The captain, Friedrich Petersen, ordered everyone to wear life vests and board the lifeboats. However, many lifeboats were damaged or couldn't be launched due to being frozen or jammed. The Wilhelm Gustloff began to tilt to the right and sank in less than an hour after the attack. Many passengers died from the explosions, drowning, hypothermia, or being shot by German guards trying to prevent panic. Only about 1,252 people survived the disaster, mostly with the help of other ships that came after hearing the SOS signal from the cruise ship. It's estimated that around 9,400 people died in this tragedy, making it the worst maritime disaster in history. The MV Donya Paz was a Filipino-flagged passenger ferry built in 1963 in Japan, initially named Himeyuri Maru. It was sold to Sulpicio Lines, a Filipino shipping company, in 1975 and renamed Don Sulpicio, and later Donya Paz in 1981. The ship could carry 1,518 passengers and had 66 crew members. On December 20th, 1987, it departed from Tacloban late, heading to Manila with a stop at Catbalogan, Samar. The ship carried around 4,386 people, including about 2,000 unregistered passengers and about 1,000 military and police personnel. It was also reported to lack sufficient radios and life jackets. At about 10:30 p.m. local time near Dumali Point, off the coast of the Tablas Strait, it collided with MT Vector, a tanker carrying over 8,000 barrels of gasoline and kerosene. The collision caused a massive explosion, igniting fires on both ships. The fire also spread to the sea surface due to oil spill from the tanker. Many Donya Paz passengers were trapped inside the ship or burned alive by the fire. Some who managed to jump into the sea also faced the dangers of drowning, hypothermia, or burns due to the hot seawater. Only about 26 people survived the disaster, mostly with help from other ships that arrived after hearing the explosion. The sinking of the Donya Paz became the worst non-war maritime disaster in history, with the death toll exceeding that of the Titanic sinking in 1912. The main causes of this disaster were negligence by the parties involved, such as overcrowding, lack of safety equipment, and insufficient supervision from maritime authorities. September 28, 1994, was a dark day for MS Estonia. While sailing from Tallinn to Stockholm, an accident occurred, resulting in 852 deaths. Fortunately, 137 people survived thanks to the rescue operation. Upon investigation, it was found that the cruise ship met with an accident due to extreme conditions in the Baltic Sea, with wind speeds of 35 to 45 miles per hour. As a result, the ship leaned to the right and eventually sank completely. According to Estonian World, the ship sank to a depth of 242 feet to 278 feet below the sea surface. Most victims were Swedish, 501 people, and Estonians, 285 people. The SS Andrea Doria ship accident occurred due to a collision with a Swedish passenger ship, caused by poor visibility or sight distance due to thick fog. This happened in July 1956 near Nantucket Coast while sailing to New York City. This collision resulted in 52 deaths, while 1,660 others were rescued. This accident was the first to be caused by radar failure, unable to send signals properly, indicating that it wasn't human error but inadequate radar on both ships. The SS Andrea Doria was 697 feet in length, 90 feet in width, and weighed 29,100 tons. The SS Admiral Nakhimov, originally named the SS Berlin, was a passenger ship that was launched in 1925 and initially operated under the German flag. After World War II, the Soviet Union took control of the ship and renamed it Admiral Nakhimov in honor of Pavel Nakhimov, a Russian military hero. The SS Admiral Nakhimov ship accident happened on August 31, 1986. The ship was sailing in the Black Sea, going from Novorossiysk to Sochi, both port cities in what was then the Soviet Union, now Russia. On that night, around 10:15 local time, the Admiral Nakhimov collided with the MV Pyotr Vasev, a cargo ship near the Novorossiysk port. At that time, the ship was carrying around 1,234 passengers and crew. After the collision, the Admiral Nakhimov sank quickly. It took less than 7 minutes from the moment of collision until it fully sank. This tragedy resulted in many casualties. It was reported that 423 people died as a result of this accident. The investigation carried out after the accident indicated that human errors, including communication failure and poor decision-making by officers on both ships, contributed to this tragedy. The investigation into this accident revealed several serious mistakes in the management and navigation on both ships. The captains of the Admiral Nakhimov and the MV Pyotr Vasev were blamed for not following the proper safety protocols and for not making the right maneuvers to avoid the collision. The impact of this accident was profound, leading to changes in safety protocols and training in the Soviet civilian fleet. It also served as a tragic example of the consequences of failing to adhere to established safety procedures and protocols in maritime navigation. This ship accident stands as one of the worst maritime tragedies in Soviet and Russian history, serving as a reminder to the world about the importance of following safety protocols and proper training in ship navigation. That wraps up today's video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more awesome videos. Catch you in the next one.